My name's Tardiff. Our presentation is on head-related transfer functions, which is a response that demonstrates how an ear receives a sound from a point in space. HRTFs describe how a given sound wave is filtered by the diffraction and reflective properties of the head, pinna, and torso. This filtering occurs before a sound reaches the eardrum and inner ear. Biologically, the pre-filtering effects of these external structures aid in locating sound. To encode the response, a head-related transfer function, which uses a mathematical formula representing curve fitting, calculates phase and frequency response to assess how human ears receive sound location. Humans have 2 ears, however they can locate sounds in 3 dimensions, that is distance, direction, above, below, front, and rear, and either side. Mark?
So as Corey mentioned, HRTFs, a head-related transfer function, is a response that demonstrates how an ear receives a sound from a point in space. So first is direction. So sounds are heard and interpreted differently depending on their incoming direction. In order to capture HRTFs, one could put microphones in their ears, put them in an anechoic chamber, and play sounds from every direction acquired. When applied, this process allows for a data set of HRTFs that are generic enough to be used for most situations as well as working with most individuals. Next up is distance. Reverb, the use of reverb or lack thereof to give the impression of a sound source's distance to the subject. High frequency attenuation, where one can apply a low-pass filter, adjust cutoff frequency, and create a sound that is more muffled, in turn emulating distance. Last, loudness. An attenuation of sound is based on the distance of the sound source. So basically farther being more quiet.
Now, humans estimate sound location by taking cues from one ear, defined as monaural cues, and by comparing cues received at both ears, defined as binaural cues. Of these cues, there are interaural time differences, interaural level differences, and spectral filtering. Interaural time differences refer to the time in which a sound wave reaches the listener's left and right ears. This time difference varies depending on where the sound source is in relationship to the listener's head. The farther to the left or right side of the head the object is located, the larger the time difference. Interaural level differences takes into account that the human ear has difficulty discerning the time of arrival of higher frequencies. To compensate, amplitude differences must be made between our ears to help us determine sound direction. And lastly, there is spectral filtering. This occurs when sounds, coming from different directions, bounce off the inside of the outer ears in different ways. The pinna modifies the sound's frequencies depending on the direction of the sound. These changes in frequency are what humans use to determine the elevation of a sound source. Diane?
So, now that we dealt with all that, what are HRTFs really good for? Almost anything related to simulation, from medical hearing aid to video game immersion. You'd think they already be implemented in video games, but many production companies today still do not make use of them. The reason can both go behind cost and technology restrictions, but also on the fact that perceptual factors have been proven to contribute to localization better than acoustical ones in virtual environments. Therefore, gaming sound design tends to mostly exploit the human factor and attempt to trick the human brain, and no doubt in the future, HRTF in gaming will not be designed to act completely realistic, but rather be a mix of both design and perception. There are many issues in HRTF that have not been completely solved. Interaural differences often only cause approximate and not complete localization. Sound in the front median plane is often heard as elevated, and reversal error can occur in which sound meant to be heard in the front can be mirrored and heard in the rear. There is a factor of each human ear being different and each ear being not a copy of each other, giving slightly different parameters. Still, HRTFs have developed much and hit a new relevance currently with VR. In 2015, for example, Lost was produced by Oculus Story Studio as the first VR short film. This experiment was very successful due to the implementation of full-scale and extremely detailed HRTF processing of the audio, which caused the immersion to be almost full. As the technology advances, it becomes also more open source for independent developers. Oculus Studios, for example, have released to the public their own HRTF audio engine. Universities have made HRTF datasets and software publicly available, and even Msp offers in real-time HRTF binaural processing patches. Overall, HRTF spectral manipulation has a bright future ahead, and no doubt in the future we will see it implemented in many new forms of virtual technology. Right?